Welcome into the AL Recruiting Power 5 podcast, where we ask all of our guests 5 questions. Today we have Riley Niblett. He is the special teams coordinator and tight ends coach at IMG Academy. Riley, we're so glad to have you on, man.
Thank you so much, Dave, and AL Recruiting. This is a blessing to be a part of, and Alabama's home will always be home. So I'm glad that I could jump on and talk some football, talk some recruiting with you.
Absolutely, man. Well, I've followed you for a long time. I mean, I remember, you followed AL Recruiting. I followed you back as a player, and I know that, you were down in Foley, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're down in Foley, but your name, we'll kind of get into your family later on, but your name is, a lot of people in the state know your last name because your dad and your uncle have coached in this state for a long time.
Yeah, and my grandfather as well. I mean, they're all trailblazers, and I'm very self-aware to the fact that they have set the standard in terms of kind of my path and what I'm pursuing. And now I'm just hoping to continue to live up to that every day and also put my own twist to it as I kind of carve out my coaching career as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to live up to, but I think you've got a good path to follow. Now, let me ask you this.
Yep.
You've been in recruiting for a while, so you got to have some good stories. I know you've coached and you've been doing recruiting at different places or heard about it. Like, what's your best recruiting story that maybe you've had happen to you or you've heard about?
The most fun I've ever had in recruiting is actually when we first got to Gainesville this past year. So there was a group of seniors that hadn't even played for us that were finished up at Gainesville, the 2022 class. So I just left Charlotte as a graduate assistant doing special teams there, and I came to Gainesville with my uncle, and I was also our recruiting coordinator, so in charge of helping all our guys gain exposure and opportunities for after high school. And there was a group of seniors to where they didn't have a whole lot going on. I think one guy had signed, and he was really the only one that had gotten attention on a 6A roster at a 6A program that's traditionally been a powerhouse and is once again at Gainesville. And so we were able to help in the span of mid-December to like the first week in January. There were 17 offers given out to that class of guys that had nothing going on. And that was something that was really special to me because, when we got there, the first thing we wanted to let the community know is that we're here for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for the kids, right? Like the wins are great, the accolades are great, and the championships are great. But the bottom line is like we are here to serve these kids and help them do things that they never thought that they could do. And so that was really awesome to be a part of. And then a lot of those guys ended up signing to play, and that was really neat.
I think that so often, and your uncle Josh Niblett coached at Hoover, and now he's at Gainesville, and so one of the things that people say is like they'll point to programs and they'll talk about all the kids that are signing scholarships from those programs. They never see the work that really was put into getting all those offers, not just from the kids, but a lot of times from the coaching staff to make those things happen.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work, and and I know we'll dive into some of it. I'm learning so much here at IMG because that's really what we're focused on, and that's why kids are here. That will help me in the long run, wherever my career takes me. But that's the thing is like if we're not here for the kids, then what are we doing it for? Like of course we want to build teams that are successful, help kids win championships and make our communities proud, of course. But the bottom line is the guys that are laying it on the line every Friday night, like that's got to be our focus. If we're asking them to come to workouts in the off season, in the summer, go to 7-on-7 competitions, play spring football, do fall camp, come to meetings early in the morning, all that stuff, well, then I'll be danged if we're not helping them have opportunities when they finish up working with us. And I'll tell you something, Dave, and I don't mind saying it just because I've heard it recently. You would be surprised at the amount of people that don't believe that should be the one of the most important things, right?
Mm.
And I'm not saying it's got to be the focus, but I mean, if it's not, it's got to be like 1A, 1B with championships, because I've heard of some places that people would recognize at some schools, and their coaches don't believe in that. And they think that recruiting's for after the season, and, oh, it'll take care of itself with your film. Like, those days are over. I
Yep.
mean, it is. And if you don't have coaches on your staff or a coach in your community that believes in helping your kids gain attention, there's a lot of noise on social media. And if you're
Mhm.
not finding a way to break through that noise to help your kids get exposure and get eyes on them, then I mean, we're doing a disservice to them.
Yeah, and you can say, add to this or not, because I'll probably clip this at some point, but if you're a coach, if you're a high school coach and that's your idea of recruiting is like it's not important till after the season, don't be mad when those kids transfer out and go to a different program.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and that's the deal. Like, look, I know we'll talk about NIL and portal because I know that's one of the topics, but like the bottom line is like a lot of it is frustrating. And as a coach, sure is frustrating for me. And look, I get it. Like, I know some guys will probably look at this like, oh, that's just some young guy. He don't really know what he's talking about. But look, like the bottom line is we got to be adaptable to what's happening now.
Mhm.
And so now, like, guys are going to go find whatever the best opportunity is for them. And it's the same thing in high school. Like, I can't blame
Yes.
a kid if he decides to go to a school that is making it a priority to help their kids gain opportunities after they graduate. And he may be at a place that that's not a priority. Like, who can blame that family? You can't. So that's why I think it should be a priority for every single program.
And with the emergence of NIL, they're literally leaving money on the table if they don't go to
Absolutely.
those places. Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
so, here's the thing. You're wearing the shirt, you're wearing the hat. A lot of us have seen, IMG on ESPN.
Sure. Sure.
But like what is IMG? What is the process like there? What do the common fan, we've seen IMG play those big games, those high school games, but like what really is going on there?
Yeah, so this is the world's largest sports specific boarding school. Okay, so that's kind of the best way I can put it. We have about 1,400 students on campus, and every single one of them is a student athlete, and they all have come here to train and prepare to go to the next level. So our focus within our varsity program is to provide our players with maximum film opportunities and maximum development. So to develop them in a college like structure, whether it's with their classes, with meetings, with workouts, whatever it may be, their day is structured like it would be at a college. Right now in the spring, our guys are waking up at about 7. They'll go get a lift in, they'll go to breakfast. We'll start meetings at 9. At 10 a.m. We're on the field for practice. We practice from about 10 to 11:45. They go get lunch, shower up, and they got school from 1:30 to 5:30. And they're on a rotating 8A B day schedule. Okay,
Mm.
so they're only in school 4 hours a day, which typically when you get to college, I mean, you're not in school 7 hours a day. Like, you have
Mhm.
classes scheduled, and you work that out around whatever sport you may be there to play. And it's the same thing here. In terms of the film opportunities, we have two teams within our varsity program, our white and our blue team. And that's why we do that. So we're playing a varsity game on a Thursday night and a
Mhm.
varsity game on a Friday night. And so if we have 100 players on the roster, 50 of those guys are getting a chance to play a lot of snaps on a Thursday, 50 more getting a lot of chances on a Friday. Then obviously we also have our national team, which is a team that goes around and travels the country. And then we also have a post grad team as well, which is basically like 13th grade for guys who maybe they feel like they need another semester of development. Maybe they want some more opportunities college wise, don't like what they have right now. Post grad is basically a way for them to redshirt without losing eligibility. So we have 4 teams on campus football wise. And so it's a really unique place. But the thing I love about it is nobody that walks through those gates is there to be average. I mean,
Mm.
everybody came here and has made a sacrifice to come here to be the best. And that's what I love to be around.
Yeah, again, I think that's one of those places people kind of point to, and I'm like, man, these kids are putting in the work. I mean, the coaches are putting in the work. And I do know a little bit about IMG. IMG really started, I believe, as a tennis academy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean,
They did.
My kids are in tennis, and so I know that about a little bit about tennis. And
Voluntary Tennis Academy.
yep. So
So if
it's
you go over to our tennis courts and go in our tennis facility, you can see everybody from Maria Sharapova, Venus Williams, Serena Williams, all sorts of great tennis players that came to train here or went here as a young kid coming up, and it's pretty neat to see how that tradition is carried over to other sports.
yeah, it's to the average fan, IMG just started existing a few years ago when the football team got popular, but it's been churning out professional athletes for a lot of years now.
Since the 70s.
Yeah, yeah. Well, kind of moving out of that, like obviously put in the work, but like when you talk and you're obviously advising players and you've been at Jacksonville State, you've worked on different high school staffs, you've been at Charlotte. So, what is your advice to recruits that are trying to play college ball? Maybe they're listening to this podcast right now. Like, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, I think the toughest thing, and shoot, I mean, I'm not too far removed from it to remember, is that there has to be a transparency and honesty with every conversation that you have with yourself, with your high school coach, and with every college coach. And here's
Mhm.
what I mean by that. Like, look, when I grew up, yes, I wanted to go play at Alabama for Nick Saban. But guess what? For some reason, I did not quite have the talent to do that. Okay. And it's the same for everybody else, right? And it may be, hey, you get a chance to go play at Alabama, but you're not a first round draft pick. Or it may be, hey, you get a chance to go on scholarship to Kennesaw State, but not Alabama or Georgia or whatever. There has to be an honesty throughout the process of where are you at?
Mm.
Where do we think that we can get you to, right? Talking player to high school coach. And then with college coach, like, where do you see yourself as a fit? Not
Mhm.
only as an athlete, but as a student. Like, it's cool to chase offers, but are you really gonna be heavily considering an offer to go play somewhere up north that snows all the time if you're used to 75 and sunny where you live, right? So it's one thing to chase opportunities, and I'm all for or pushing as many eyes on kids as possible. But I also, too, in this culture, see a lot of what coaches will call offer chasing, where it's
Mhm.
just, hey, how much attention can I get? Like, I think there also needs to be an honesty with college coaches as well. Like, hey, here's what I'd like to study. Here's where I think I fit schematically. And if that's not a fit with a coach, then be able to be a man and say that,
Yeah.
right? And then, but it should be the same thing on the other side too. At
Mhm.
times, you'll see college coaches maybe pursuing a kid early on, right? And then later on in the process, it comes down to it, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, that was kind of just to get you interested, but we're not going to end up taking you, right?" So I think as much transparency and honesty that you can have with yourself through your own evaluation of yourself, through your high school coach's evaluation of you, and then as you progress into college coach's evaluation of you, like be honest, see where you're at, and then daily take the steps that it takes to get to where you want to get to. But, for me, like it would have been a waste of time to worry and fret about Alabama and Georgia offering me when I knew good and well that I don't run a 4.4. I'm not 6'4", 250, right? Like,
Mhm.
look at the players that are on their roster. And if you have a doubt, then figure out a time that maybe you can go to a practice or go watch a game or whatever. They have all sorts of events where they'll let people come in, especially high school kids, just to build those relationships. Like, see, can I fit in on this roster? That's the thing that pushed me into becoming a student assistant as quickly as I did. I thought I was going to go play at Jacksonville State as a long snapper. And I went and visited on a game day the year that they made it to the national championship. And I was like, I don't look like these guys. I don't run like these guys. I'm not as good as these guys. But you know what? I can help somebody get that good. And so that's why I just jumped straight into coaching. But it took me having an honest conversation with myself to know that. That looks different for everybody. For some
Yeah.
guys, it is, hey, the honest truth is, you know what? Your ceiling is playing at Alabama. It is playing at Georgia.
Mhm.
For other guys, your ceiling is playing at Kennesaw State. It is playing at South Alabama, whatever it may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the bottom line is take opportunities to where you can get your school paid for.
Yeah.
One of the most
Well,
frustrating things that you can see is a kid get an opportunity to go to school for free, but then they may take a PWO to a place where, they're going to be a scout team guy, backup, whatever, and now they're having to pay out of pocket. Like, go to the places, pursue the places, visit the places that want you,
yeah.
not just what you want to be, but they want you.
Yeah, and now you've been doing this long enough that when you kind of look at recruiting, and we're all dealing with, and that's why I asked the question to most all of the guests that are in coaching, is about NIL and the portal. How has that changed recruiting at a place like IMG? How are you guys dealing with it, and what's that look like?
If we would have had this conversation a month or two ago, I'd probably been here like everybody else, like, oh man, the portal's terrible. NIL is going to ruin football. It's here. So there's no point in complaining about it. Like, you better get ready for it. And that's college and high school. Because you can say whatever you want to, but NIL is coming to high school like it is.
Yes,
So,
preach that. That is
so
100% true.
it's coming. So what are you doing to prepare yourself to be ready when that bill is signed and it's ready to roll, right? Portal wise, does it make it tougher initially? Yes. Are there still many good opportunities to get recruited? Yes. Here's what I mean by that. It's kind of like you got to play the game both ways almost. A guy that may have gotten signed to a group of five school 6, 7 years ago may not get that opportunity because that group of five school decided to fill that hole with a college player. And so he may end up going to a FCS school.
Hmm.
Well, he ends up going to that FCS school, but he was a group of five talent. He balls out for 2 years, and then he ends up transferring back up to the level that he initially would have gotten recruited at pre-portal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that happens, right? NIL wise, like, I mean, it's here. So it's all about marketing. It's all about branding yourself as much as possible. I mean, shoot, like, even when we were at Gainesville, the first thing that I knew immediately that we had to get established was a recruiting page, a really good football page going on Instagram. We did a TikTok, and we had a photographer that would come out and take pictures at practice. They took pictures during pregame. They took pictures all during meetings, if necessary, like a team meeting setting or whatever. And then they do videos during the game. So then they could have different video clips of each player. Then you can mash it together so that player could put on their social media. Like, some of this stuff I'm keeping kind of closed wraps because hopefully I'll get a chance to do that one day with a program. But there's many ways that you can market yourself to be prepared for that. And that doesn't have to begin when you get to college. I mean, I'm living in it right now because heck, we got all these 4 or 5 star guys. Shoot, I go on Instagram and they happen to pop up on my page. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's so and so. Let me see what he's posting. I click on his profile. He's got daggum 40, 50,000 followers already.
Yep.
Right. So that process begins before you get to college. And then once you get to college, like, you got to perform as well. I mean, you got to understand it's just like advertisement. Like, there's a reason why people pay so much to put a commercial on the Super Bowl because everybody's watching the Super Bowl.
Right.
So what are you doing on the field to make people watch you and follow you that would attract companies and brands to want to market with you?
Yeah, and I think that to me, it's fast forwarded professionalism in a way, in that a lot of it is that, maybe before a guy turned pro, they used to could go back and check their social media and make sure everything was good before they're pro. Now, to me, it's really starting in ninth grade, and that you better know what you have on your social media. I mean, coaches are already looking at it, teams are already looking at it, but now you're going to again leave money on the table if you're an idiot on your social media.
Yep. No doubt. No, you're exactly right. I was on a podcast the other day and they were asking, like, what's the biggest thing between athletes now that you've seen and maybe when you were coming up? And it was even kind of the case when I was coming up, but it's even more so now with NIL. Everybody sees everything all the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like, and I don't think this is healthy, but it's almost like kids aren't able to make mistakes anymore, move on and learn from them.
Yes.
Like, if you're not careful, everything is out there all the time, and we're so quick to point and judge. Hey, he did this. Hey, he did that. Man, look, half of us, if we could go back and shoot, you could go back to old accounts I probably had and find a million things. Like we all have and would make dumb decisions at that age at times, but like let's also keep that in perspective so that we can help these young men continue to grow and get better at their craft. And then in terms in relationship with NIL, be able to market themselves better. But that's just the thing. Like everybody sees everything all the time. So you always got to be cognizant of that.
Yeah. Praise the Lord. I didn't have a Twitter or a social media when I was a teenager.
I hear that from a lot of people.
I didn't have to worry about that. So when I think about you and your family and what you've done, like you guys just help students, and whether it's in Alabama or Georgia or Florida, and you guys have always had a heart for kids. And, so tell us about like how important your family is to your football journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes without saying. They have really set the standard in a lot of ways. At first in Alabama, but then now in Georgia with the success that we had as a group this past year was unbelievable. First year going to state championship, losing by a touchdown to a top 15 team in the country that nobody thought we had a chance against. It was really, really fun. But the biggest thing that you see and that I've learned is that the X's and O's are awesome. The Friday nights are awesome, but nobody sees the amount of attention to detail and organization there is January through July. And then once the state championship ends in December into January. I mean, it is a 24/7 nonstop machine. And of course, there are times where you got to catch your breath. And if you're not careful, like you'll overload yourself. And they do a great job of that as well. But man, like you talk about a standard of excellence, like that's the thing that I've been so entrenched with just moving forward and trying to grow in my career is that everything that my family has done has just been excellence. And it has nothing to do with wins and losses. It has nothing to do with championships. It's just people know that they treat people the right way. They're going to help kids. They're in it for the right reasons, right? They're in a great place spiritually, and they're there to make a difference and leave that community better than they found it. And that's all you can ask for. You do those things, the wins are going to come, and they have came for all of them, and hopefully I'll get an opportunity to do that in a community somewhere one day. But until then, I'm going to be down here in IMG trying to develop our guys, help them gain opportunities at the next level and preparing for that shot one day.
Yeah. I mean, your family has always pointed people to Jesus. And I'll say this, being excellent is a byproduct of when you chase and follow Jesus as hard as you can. We're called to excellence. We're not called to half do things. And so, you'll get haters, you'll get people that say this, that, or the other. But when you really follow Christ like you're supposed to, you're called into excellence. And your family's a great example of that.
Yeah, I mean, but again, just like you said, the foundation of everything that they do is Jesus. And so he's the ultimate standard. He's the ultimate example. And every day, that's what we're chasing. We used a motto this past year that we had at Gainesville was chasing best. Well, that's the ultimate example of chasing best, because there's only one best in all of this, and that's him.
Well, I don't think we can say anything better than that, man. So, Riley, I wish you all the best. I wish IMG, hopefully you have a great season, have a fun season, and then we'll just keep following your career and praying for you and hope everything keeps progressing along for you, buddy.
Thank you so much. Blessing to be a part. Anything I can do to help in the future, let me know.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, all Twitter, all the social media stuff. We're there. But appreciate everybody listening today.